It's not for them to understand. You may feel like you're being held hostage because the people closest to you don't recognize the call of God on your life. But God isn't waiting around on everyone else's approval. He's waiting on your obedience and your response to his call. Some calls are revealed privately before they're recognized publicly. Pharaoh was a pagan king, yet he said, "Can we find a man like this, in whom is the Spirit of God?" This is the very first time in scripture a pagan ruler recognized the Spirit of God in someone. And Pharaoh didn't know or serve Yahweh, yet he experienced a level of excellence and stewardship that could only come from the God of Joseph. Meanwhile, Joseph's own brothers didn't recognize his calling because familiarity and proximity often blind people to your elevation. God gave the dream to Joseph, not to his brothers. So they were not meant to understand it, they were meant to witness it. So when God calls you, your responsibility is obedience, not to convince people who can't see it. But, and I need you to hear me on this, obedience to God never gives you permission to dishonor the people God placed you in covenant with. Obedience may require separation, but it does not excuse destruction, because God's assignments don't destroy family. Jesus said the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Division is not a fruit of the Spirit. In Genesis 24, Abraham sends his servant to find a wife for Isaac. Rebekah's family hesitated. They even asked her to stay, but it was clear that God had chosen her for Isaac. Now Rebekah obeyed God, but notice she didn't destroy her family to do it. They sent her away with a blessing. It is not your job to force people to understand your assignment. It is your job to walk out that assignment in love, honoring the relationships God used to shape you for the very calling he gave you. Consecration and isolation are not the same. Psalms 92 says, "Those who are planted in the house of the Lord flourish." God plants, Satan uproots and scatters. The wilderness in scripture is often where things go to die. You have the scapegoat in Leviticus, you have Israel's unbelieving generation, and this is where Jesus battled Satan after his baptism. The wilderness is where God shapes you, but it's not where he intends to leave you. So don't confuse God calling you out with the enemy pulling you away. Now, I already made a video on Exodus 31:3 about God filling Bezalel to build his tabernacle, but here's how to know if you're walking in divine assignment. First, God is going to add in a holy app. He's going to bring you legacy carriers who have the same spirit and skill, because your assignments are rarely solo. Secondly, God is going to accelerate the work. It only took Israel about 6 months to build the tabernacle, and when you're yielded to God in your assignment, he's going to accelerate the timeline. Thirdly, God is going to mark the work of your hands with his presence. When they finished, the Spirit of God dwelled in the tabernacle. When you build with God in community, he marks it with his presence. Now catch this. Joseph went from interpreting the dream of a cupbearer